So, if you're like me and have a multitude of hunting rifles, and some of them have pick rails on them, some of them have Arca rails on them, some of them have old school swivel studs on them, and you need a bipod to put on all these things, and you'd like it to not be super heavy, that is where the Tricer RP bipod package comes in. I decided to buy this bipod because looking at a couple of my rifles that I've got here lately, being on the super light side of things like this Seekins Element, there is no point in buying an ultralight rifle and then putting one of my heavier bipods on it. It kind of defeats the purpose, because most of the time, especially in the lightweight world, you pay extra for that, so there's no sense in going against it with a super heavy bipod. So this Tricer also will work on almost everything I have due to what's in this kit that comes with it, all in one, compared to it's probably about the cost of this one Atlas Cal bipod right here. So you get everything you need in this package to put it on all of my rifles. So let's break this thing open, take a look at it here. Alright, let's open this thing up. Take a look at what all this comes with here, right out of the package. We'll probably do some shooting with it, and then later I'll actually try to get you some height measurements and some weight specs compared to some of the other bipods that I got sitting in the pile over here. But as it comes out of the package, you got the pick rail throw lever right on there with the long legs on it. They give you this set of short legs. These have the metal cleats on them, and this set has the rubber feet on it, which you can change, flip around. It does also come with the Arca rail quick change. Got a bubble level right there in the side of it. That one does not. And then they also give you this adapter right here. This is for putting it on the old school swivel studs on an old school rifle, so you can convert it over, get a pick rail put on there. So we'll probably put this on like the CTR to try this out. But let's go ahead and we'll get this thing mounted up on a couple of rifles and we'll go out and shoot this thing. First, let's take a look at how this thing functions. Of course, right now I got the pick rail on there, so you do have a throw lever on here. With this here is kind of the catch, so you can't open it up unless you depress that on there. On the back right here, this is the tensioner, so that your swivel function, and this has pan to it, so you can tip it. I'm not a huge fan of pan, but it's got it on there because some people feel it necessary. I do not, but some people do. This lever right here, like I said, this is the tension, and when you set it, when it tightens down right here, you can pull this out and freewheel it and move it to the side and get that thing out of the way if you want to. So I definitely like that feature of it. Now, on the outside of the leg right there, you got a button. That button gives you 4 different positions on this thing. Excuse me, kind of just getting over being sick here, but you've got straight down, 45 forward, straight forward, and then they do give you the all the way back position. So you got 4 spots to choose from there. On the back here, you've got 2 more buttons. Those buttons, you have 4 positions right here. That's narrow. You've got 2 kind of middle in there, and then 1 all the way out. So if you press that, you can get these legs real wide. So even with these long legs, you can get this pretty short. And we'll take some measurements and we'll show you that stuff here later too, once we get some shooting done afterwards. So now let's talk about these legs on here. If you're looking from the top down, this would be counterclockwise, unlocks that leg. And we pull it out and you've got 3 sections to it. which is a pretty good, long, generous leg on there for a sitting position, will definitely work. And the way Tricer does it, the largest section is at the bottom, and it gets smaller as you go up. Because then when you're sitting there on the ground, you're adjusting on that smallest leg and leaving the bigger, stiffer leg all the way out towards the bottom, because this one right here is just right off the rifle. We can slip, change height just a little bit if we need to. You know, it's all up here at the top. You don't have to reach all the way down here at the bottom. So you got your sturdiest part down here and your weakest part up here where you can grab at it real easy. So I kind of like that idea in those. On the shorter leg section, you just have the one. So it's kind of your average bench rest, laying prone style height in there. So everything that you would expect. And right now, again, got the rubber feet on here. We got the cleats on the taller one because for hunting purposes, yeah, you're going to want the cleats on there to grab into the ground, not so much the rubber foot on there. The other thing that I should mention here is we're going to start out first with Old Faithful, my favorite rifle, the Ackley. And I've got a pick rail on this gun. Well, and everybody knows it has got a quick detach pick rail. That not every pick rail is made to the exact same spec. Some of them are a little tighter, some of them are a little bit bigger. But on here, right there, hopefully that's in focus, is that little gray adjustment wheel. That is your tensioner if it's too tight or too loose on here. It's actually about right. Cammed over fairly nicely. So let's start out with this thing down here in its lowest position. Now this is actually almost too low for me here. I mean, you can see that's pretty short. But when those legs are at their widest position, that's where like any downward pressure, or like this rifle weighs in there at about 16 pounds or so. It's got a heavy barrel profile on it, heavy scope, you know, all aluminum. So it's got some weight to it. And that's where normally you'll start to see, especially a weak bipod, start moving around on you a little bit. But looking through the scope, put a little preload in it, and it's a little bit spongy. Probably tighten that up just maybe a little bit. You got a little bit of flex in it, but not too bad. I don't mind it, but I mean, there's definitely a little flex in there. Let's shoot a group. We'll see what it looks like here. So normally this is about a half MOA rifle or so with this ammo I'm shooting today. Overall reticle is looking pretty steady. Well, two are touching's one off, but it's still half MOA, so well within what this thing can normally do with that little bit of spring back, and it doesn't seem like it's hopping around or bouncing around on me, so that's all good. Let's move this. Now I'm going to go ahead and shoot them. I kicked them in one notch, so they're second one down, and then put them out front at 45 degrees. So now you can definitely see when you push into it, you kind of raise the rifle on there. So you're going to have to be consistent at either a neutral preload or a forward preload to it. So let's go ahead. We'll take some shots. I did forget to, I forgot to turn on the camera for the first run. So I got it turned on now. You'll be able to see these groups. I'll shoot at the top of the diamond. Definitely a little more sensitive to breathing. You can see that rise up and down as I'm breathing. All right, one more. Well, all three of them are touching, so that's pretty good. Let's move her up to sitting position. All right, so I scooted the legs all the way in, extended them all the way out. I'll let you take a look at this. Again, remember, I am 6 foot tall, and this is way above what I need it to be for shooting here across this level ground. So we can kick the legs out or shorten up those legs. Either one will get it down to it, but that also shows that if we have a downhill angle, these legs are probably gonna be tall enough, you know, if you're shooting up a mountainside right here, we can get them high enough to make these legs definitely usable. Let's go ahead, we'll kick them each out one position here. There we go, that's a little better. And then shrink up just a little bit on each leg. Turned it the wrong way there. All right, that's a little better. We definitely have a bit of spring at this length, that's for sure. I'm going to go ahead and shoot for the very center of the diamond here. It's probably not going to be the prettiest group that I've ever shot. Messing with how much preload, neutral preload, all that, I almost kind of like going with a negative preload on here. See what that compared to forward. Feel just a little bit shakier, but I mean, you can see how much room we've got on this when we do this. All right, let's go ahead and try to send this. Over just a little bit. A little bit high on that one. You can definitely tell a little more motion in this. Ooh, yeah, I was a little bit right on that one, but yeah, I mean, that'd still kill a coyote or raccoon or whatever varmint. But you can definitely tell you're a little shakier. But I mean, it is a lightweight hunting bipod and not a PRS style. I mean, you can't just ram right into this. I can feel that even this, when we lock it up or not, you cinch that down, it's got a little bit of movement in there. It's not bad, but it's definitely not as steady as being prone or, you know, on a super heavy duty tripod. All right, let's switch guns, shoot something with a little more recoil to it. Now we got 6.5 Creedmoor out here, and we've got their standard stud adapter to Picatinny rail. So when you put that on here, you can tell when you push forward, because the stud is in front of the pick rail, when you lean into it, it's leveraging against the stock right here, and that thing is seeming pretty stable. Now this is a lot lighter rifle, and we're going to have a little bit more recoil off of it, so I don't really remember what I've got this zeroed for. So we're just going to send 3 rounds fairly fast with it, and I'm just going to judge kind of that come back to target, you know, see how much spring there is with a little bit of speed. I'm probably going to shoot the left-hand side of that diamond right down there. So let's see what we can do here. Go ahead and send them. Not bad, stayed on target pretty good. Yeah, not bad at all. All right, let's swap this thing over to the 7PRC. Let's see how she feels. Let's run a few through the 7PRC here. See what this feels like. I'll probably take a shot or two down here, and then maybe we'll put it up to the sitting position and see what we can do. Again, feeling pretty steady on there. I think I'll go ahead and shoot at the, I think I'll go ahead and shoot at the right-hand side of the center diamond. Feeling pretty good and steady. Ooh, wow. This is way high with this suppressor on there. I guess I don't remember which suppressor I had on this thing, but let's send another one here. All right. Now, these legs out. There. That one. Right there. That one down. Lock that one down. Let's try the seated shot with it. Yep, close. Just as I shot that third shot at down there, the battery died on the camera, but recoil on that, I did come back, you know, onto target. So, I mean, yes, it's not as stable as a tripod, but it doesn't weigh nearly as much either. So, but I mean, it's definitely doable if you practice at it. Now, let's get the different adapter on here. We'll put the Arca rail adapter on here, and we'll shoot it on off the thermal rifle off the 6 Arc. So, got the pick rail adapter on there. We're going to put the Arca one on there. What holds this on is just that one screw right there. And they do give you 2 Allen wrenches with this. The larger one goes for taking this off. It really wasn't on there too hard. As you can see on that screw, there is a brass insert, a bushing that came out of that. So we'll need to put that back inside there. The other thing that should be noted on here is if you notice that slot right there where that screw goes in is sideways on there. When it comes to this one right here, it is the other direction on there. So you do have to switch this thing sideways when you put that on there. I'll just set that on there. Always thread your screws in or start them in with your fingers before you start ratcheting them down with a wrench or something. Snug that up, loosen that, and now we are ready to rock and roll. But as that sits on here, that piece right there, you do have that level on there. I'm assuming you want that pointing back towards you, so you can see if you're sitting level or not. If you were looking from, you know, the side or underneath the rifle, you can see if that's level. How's that sitting there? So that's kind of cool. Yeah. All right, so I've got a steel plate setting up out there, and I'll go ahead and record through the scope, and this will let you see what the recoil looks like you know, a little bit better than just watching it from the side. See how much movement it is. You'll see how much movement there is on the reticle. See here, start the recording on here. Just barely see that steel plate. Shows we got it on 10 power. Let's zoom her down. 3 power, how steady it looks. We'll send her all the way up here. 24 power. Let's go ahead and send one. Not too shabby. What I should probably do is go down there and I'll heat that plate up here. All right, heated that thing up with a torch. It is glowing bigger than life out there now. Let's shoot a few here. Boost her up a little more. Zoom her all the way. All right, now let's boost her up and we'll take a couple shots from the sitting position here. Zoom her down to 3. So you can tell here, back load, kind of neutral, preload. You know, they're all looking pretty good. Zoom her up just a little bit. See a little more shake. Am I out? Oh. Of course, I'm out of rounds here. Zoom her all the way up and see what it looks like. Not bad at all. That thing is definitely going to work for shooting some coyotes and some raccoons, and it doesn't add much to the front of the rifle. I'm liking it so far. Well, since we're losing some daylight here, we're about probably 15 minutes away from being dark. It doesn't quite look it on the camera, but in actuality, it's getting fairly dark here. So we'll go ahead, I'll pack stuff up, I'll head down to the gun room, and I'll take some measurements on how high this thing sits with this set of legs and the shorter set of legs for you. And we'll do some weights off of both short legs and long legs, see how much it weighs compared to a couple of my other bipods that I've got in the house. So the next thing that we're going to do here is measure some heights in different positions on these legs. We'll do the long legs first, and then we'll switch over, put the shorter legs on, and we'll see what type of heights we get. I'm going to measure from the top of the attachment point, basically like right there where that clamps on. That way, because from stock to stock, or as a bolt gun AR, the height to the center line of the barrel might be different, so we'll just go off the top lip of the attachment clamp is what we're going to do. All right. In this, I'll try to hold the gun level, and then we'll set that in there. That's about 7 3/8 on there in the flat position. If we cast this forward to 45, probably get even lower. Back that up. That's about 5 3/4 right there is what that height is. Now, let's go ahead and kick the legs all the way in. That. It's looking like about 14 5/8 in the upright position, even though it's almost not even on the screen there. That is reading, there, straighten that out a little bit, about 30 and a quarter tall right there. So stretching them all the way out is pretty tall. So from the lowest setting, that's 5 5/8 with the feet kicked forward at 45 degrees. Once you put them back to perpendicular, then you're in there at 7 inches or so, or 7.5. But your top, the tallest that it'll get, is about 30 and a quarter, which, you know, to here, to the bottom of the rifle, that's pretty tall. Now, let's go ahead, put the short legs on here, and I'll go ahead and show you how to do that, and then we'll take some measurements on this thing. So, like I said, they give you 2 Allen wrenches. The smaller one here, you basically take, and there are set screws right there and there, and on the other side, there and there. So you just break those loose. And unscrew the leg. Take the other leg and just screw it right in. And I'm assuming those weren't in there super tight, so I'm assuming it's not super necessary to absolutely just torque those things down. I'm assuming that these, if we kick these at 45 degrees forward, it will be so low that it will pretty much be useless, but we'll take a little measurement anyway and see what it looks like. First. So there, having that at the lowest it'll go, you're looking about 4 5/8. Oops, get my leverage arm in the way. Now you are a little closer to 9 3/8 on there. But to do that, 45, we'll have to actually put that on the gun and see what that comes out at here. I'm betting, well, we can just do it that way. 5 inches to the top of that, so that's getting pretty low. That won't even clear the bottom of the rifle. You probably can't even set that level, I'm betting. Yeah, that thing's just, yeah, you're not going to be able to get underneath that thing to even shoot it there. So, yep, that's lower than what it really needs to be there. With the grip sitting on the table, I've got a slight downhill tip to it in there, so lower than what you need for sure. With them extended out, that's about 12 1/4, 12 1/8, somewhere in there, if you can see that. So pretty good range overall, even on the short one. It's definitely tall enough for, you know, bench work and laying prone. So on the shorter set of legs, that's getting us from 4 1/4 to 12 1/4. Pretty good adjustability. Should do everything that you need for on the bench and laying prone, everything like that. And again, you know, pretty stable in there. Not a lot of spring to it or anything. I mean, all right. So now, got the scale out here. Let's weigh this in the shorter configuration. This is with the Arca head on there, which might weigh a little bit more than the Picatinny rail, but we won't worry about that. That looks like it's coming in at about 11 ounces in there, so pretty light. Let's go ahead and take these legs back off. We'll put the longer legs back on here and see what they weigh in at. Alright, now with long legs on there, see how much this thing weighs here. That jumping up more like, yeah, almost a pound. Probably in there like 15 ounces somewhere. So a little bit heavier, but still under a pound. Now, let's go ahead and weigh some of my other ones that we got here. This is the, I believe, 6 to 9 Harris on here with the, it does have the swivel. And there, you're at about 13 ounces for that one. Let's grab the long Harris, what I used to use out there. That's been on a hunt or two, but it hasn't been for a very long time. Let's measure that. Ooh. Yeah, that's at about a pound and about 1.4 pounds. So definitely a little heavier on that Harris, but you know, they are an all metal one as well. Let's do, I believe this one is the V8 from B&T Atlas. You're about 13 ounces on that one, the shorter V8. Let's do, here's the shorter Cal. Yep, that one's in there. No, what's that say? Right about 14 ounces, a little bit more, just over. The longer Cal, here and there, just over a pound. Here's another one too. The Magpul with the M-lock attachment. Let's go ahead and throw that one on there. See what that weighs. That's in there probably almost 12 ounces. So light, but not nearly as adjustable, you know, as what the Tricer is. So I don't own an MDT SkyPod, but according to what the old interweb says, that the triple pull, which would be the equivalent to this, is somewhere, depending on, it's a little bit off. On a Gen 2 or a Gen 3, they're somewhere in there at a little over 2 pounds. Some say 36 ounces, some say 38 ounces, but compared to 15 ounces of this, I mean, that's a substantial difference in weight. I mean, that's like adding, you know, a whole nother one of these Atlas Cals to this to get that SkyPod triple pull. So, I mean, this thing is definitely nice and lightweight, you know, for a hunting setup. So, my initial thoughts on this bipod are pretty positive right out of the gate here. I mean, value-wise, I think that it's a pretty good deal. I mean, it is over $300, and I mean, that's not chump change, but when you look at everything that you get for that, I mean, I paid the same amount for this, and then you only get the cheap rubber feet and a pick rail mount. You know, where this, 2 different sets of legs, you got the rubber feet, you got the metal cleat feet, you got the Arca rail and the pick rail adapters, the quick attaches, and then you even get the adapter to turn the stud into a pick rail on there. So, I mean, the value in this, I think, is there. I mean, how well will it hold up in the long run? I mean, we don't know. This thing's going to go on some hunts, and we're going to see what this thing can do. I mean, but I think that, you know, I think that the quality seems to be there initially. It's pretty stable. It's not the most stable bipod that I've ever been on. I mean, but for the weight of it and the fact that this is a hunting setup bipod, I mean, it's definitely good. If you look at how it did, you know, shooting the groups down in the prone position, I mean, I think that it shoots just as good as any other bipod that I've got, you know, that's definitely heavier duty. Sitting up in the sitting position, I mean, That's not the best shooting I've ever done off of a bipod, but Lord knows it's not the worst shooting I've ever done off a bipod. So I think that for the most part, it's definitely there. I mean, I was rushing them groups a little bit, and being nervous shooting in front of a camera all the time. It never helps. But like that one group was right around 1 MOA, so that's not doing bad at all from a sitting position with a lighter weight setup, or a lighter weight bipod setup. One of the other things that I'll definitely say I like about it is if you listen, the bipod itself isn't making any noise. I think sometimes, some companies forget about that on the hunting end, that it can't be rattling and chattering and making noise as you're walking. It needs to be as quiet as possible when you're walking into a set, whether you're coyote hunting or deer hunting. I mean, knock out any excess noise that it makes, that slop in the joints, just tighten that stuff up, because you just can't have that noise when you're out there hunting. My other thought with this thing is definitely for you guys that shoot NRL hunter. I mean, if you can shave a ½ pound to a pound out of your bipod, I mean, that's kind of a game changer for you, especially if you're going for that 12-pound rifle, staying underneath that. I mean, that gives you more options when it comes to what glass are you going to put on the rifle, the mounts. I mean, you can add a little bit more weight, be a little more forgiving on something else if you take it out of something just like the bipod. I mean, it seems like really a waste per se to have extra weight in the bipod itself for a game like that. And even for on the hunting side of it, I mean, for all the guys that are ultralighting, you got to have everything on your back. You're walking in those elk's tracks, and you're sleeping where they're sleeping, and you're just tracking them down, trying to catch up to them. I mean, that old adage of ounces equal pounds and pounds equal pain, I mean, adds up, and this thing is going to save you quite a few ounces. So, overall, I'll say, I mean, it's a lot of good things to say about it. The only thing really bad, per se, that you can say about it is that there is, especially with the taller legs, that little bit of sponginess, like we showed out there. You kind of got that flex to it a little bit. When you've got the legs straight up and down, it's not too big of a deal. But I did notice any bipod, whether it be one of these Atlases or this Tricer, when you've got this and the legs are 45 degree out, with that extra bit of sponginess on there, when you're leaning into that, as you're pushing, you're rising the front of that gun. You're raising it up. So you do got to be a little bit more careful, especially in the 45 degree forward position. You're watching your breath. You're getting a little bit more movement that way than on a normal one that's a little bit more rigid. But I mean, that's more of a technique problem that you can solve that by your shooting technique. Not forcing so far forward and shooting a little more off the neutral or the rear position. I mean, takes a little bit of that out of it anyway. So, it's a little bit of a negative, but it's definitely there. But any tripod, like I said, that you set at 45 is going to have that problem. As you push in, you're going to rise. Now I want to take a moment to thank all you guys, especially if you've made it this far into this video, whether you're watching on Sniperside TV or YouTube or Rumble. I mean, I really do appreciate it. Every like, share, and comment definitely helps me out, because I do want to grow this channel, make it bigger. I mean, the only way to make that possible, is to get those numbers up. I mean, I pay for all of this stuff with my own money. I don't have any sponsors, so I mean, really, it's through you guys, helping me out and spread the word of this channel that is going to make me grow and make all this stuff possible. So, again, thanks for watching, and hopefully we'll catch you on the next one.